Onto the computer. And we're recording. There we go. Welcome to another episode of COVID Convos. I'm your host, Cyril Wong with Butlers Incorporated. I'm joined today by Ginny Kellough from Palm Protects. She is a, what kind of specialist would you call yourself?
Well, two things, either accident and sickness specialist or living benefit specialist.
Yes, so living benefits, and these are some services that I've actually taken advantage of. I have a hard time framing it because, like, in my head, I think of it as insurance. I'm not sure if that is the category that we fall into.
It is, but the thing with the word insurance is it has such a negative stigma because people just assume, that insurance, we pay so much for insurance, you go to use it and it's either not there for you or you use it and the premiums increase. So I like to lump it in coverage, using the word coverage. It just seems a little bit more positive than the word insurance.
Yeah, that's actually a great way of describing it. Ginny Ginny actually shared with me what she did, and she had this compelling background story about how her family was in need of some financial assistance when some unfortunate things happened to your family's health. And we were looking for, Ginny was looking for options in order to help mitigate some of that financial stress. And so she was out there looking for ways to protect her family and protect herself, so that when risks actually became incidents, that they were able to weather that financial storm. So Ginny, why don't you tell us about your company that you work for?
Sure, yeah, of course. So it's I'm actually contracted out by a larger company that it's under the umbrella of Chubb Securities, which people have heard more of than if I were to say the word combined insurance. So we're under the umbrella of Chubb, but combined insurance specifically, so I'm contracted out by them. It's a 100-year-old company. There's nothing new about this. It's just that it has primarily been marketed in farming communities through door knocking, like Cyril, for example, what would happen if somebody came and knocked on your door here in the city?
Yeah, it'd be, I don't know, most times I'm like, go away.
Yeah, exactly.
but at least I opened the door because, like, I'm curious. There's someone at my door, so.
Oh, interesting. Okay, you're a little bit different than what most people say. They hide, they're not opening, nobody, especially in COVID too, right? Maybe it's just the Amazon delivery person or something you got to deliver. But
I'm always looking for my Amazon package, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly, me too. But so obviously the services so the gentleman that started this company, he was the son of a farmer, and he had seen so many injuries that had happened from farms in farming communities because they're dealing with this heavy machinery. And so he decided that he wanted to start a company that gave insurance to farmers that was affordable, it was usable, it was relevant, like it actually paid for the real life things that was happening to farmers so that they weren't then losing their farms. So it's just kind of in the last, I'd say 5 years, it's morphed into so many of us in major cities need it. Many of us are self-employed. Even if people have, let's say, coverage through their businesses, if their employer is paying for it, it's traditional insurance. So traditionally it has these really long waiting periods. So we then can also come in and fill in those waiting periods. So it's been really, really interesting because people are really starting to take notice of this and realize that we're the company that pays for the real life stuff that's happening to real life people. Like you said, we were looking for something different. My husband's a carpenter, excuse me. So he's got a high risk job. He does high risk stuff outside of his job, as do my kids, mountain biking and all this stuff. We're an active family. And traditional insurance doesn't pay for stuff that is high risk, or in the sense of occupation, you're paying a higher premium for a more dangerous occupation. So our company doesn't rate things based on level of dangerousness. So we bought a policy for Danny. We used it, my husband, we used it immediately. for broken fingers and stitches and stuff like that. And it was after the third claim that we had made, and we had made these claims within a month and a half of each other. And it was the way that the company dealt with us, the way they paid out the claims, how they treated us, that I just said, holy smokes, like, what can I do to be a part of this company to just simply show other people that this even exists? Because it's about showing options that are out there. That's it. That's how I got started in the business. And we now, fast forward to 4 years now, we've made 11 claims for our family just for broken bones and stitches. The policy's there for bigger stuff, but that's all we've claimed on so far. So it's extraordinary. People just need to know about it.
Yeah, definitely. So like Ginny, the biggest reason that I was curious about your area of expertise was that so Ginny and I are part of a business network group. And when I sat down, I realized every single week that people were either referring to Ginny or were making claims through Ginny. And I was like, what is it that this lady is selling, honestly? And so, yeah, when I sat down, yeah, so I sat down with Ginny, and she explained to me, so what was really compelling to me was your first claim story, like how you initially had started looking for a palm, because there were some pretty insane circumstance that led you down that path, right?
Yeah, yeah. So we hadn't had any coverage yet. So as I said, husband is a carpenter. I was a stay-at-home mom, so we had only one income and we have 3 kids. And we had looked for insurance before, but as I said, because he's a carpenter, it's bloody expensive. And we needed money to come in immediately. Like if Dan was unable to work, then we needed to have money coming in right away. And the only way to make our policy affordable was if we selected a policy that had a 120-day waiting period, which by that time, we would have been in some deep trouble already. So we thought, okay, this is too expensive. We can't use it anyways. So let's just take that money, self-insure, and put it in a bank account rather than spending it on insurance, which, let's be honest, never happened. We have 3 kids. Other things are always happening. And, you know, you own a house and you have to do all this maintenance and stuff. So it never happened. And then one day, it was about 5 years ago now, I guess, Danny and we were in Banff. We just finished having dinner and we were walking to our hotel room. So we were on Main Street, Banff, and it was bright out, and he was just attacked from behind by some person. We don't know who or why, and just threw Danny down to the ground, and his head split open like a watermelon. Anyways, long story short, it was life-threatening, and the doctors had said to him, you can't even think of going back to work for 6 months, because the first question is when can I get back to work? If I'm not working, we're not bringing in a penny. And so we had, I had said, I'll go back to work. I'll do whatever I need to do. I'll work at McDonald's if I have to. And if you knew Danny, he's a very proud man. You know, he's obviously, the weight of the family is on his shoulders. And so 1 week later, he went back to work. And this guy, I mean, he's dizzy. He's got brain fluid coming out of his ears and blood pooling in his orbital sockets. Like, it was pretty miserable. And so every day he left to work, I thought, this is the last day I'm ever going to see him, or I don't know what is going to happen here. So it was a really extraordinarily scary time in our lives. And the fact that we had to make that decision as to whether he should go back to work or not with a life-threatening brain injury. So that's what launched me into a pursuit of looking for something that's different, something that actually can serve people when they need it, and that's affordable. So that's how I found Combined Insurance, and then became contracted out by them after 3 claims that we had made, and loving it. I am absolutely loving it. I never thought in a million years I'd be in the world of insurance and doing this, but I'm doing it because I love it. I 100% stand by the products completely, and every day I'm processing claims for clients of mine. It just furthers me in my belief of this company. It's just, it's amazing.
So quickly, I just want to touch on what is your background again?
Oh yeah, so I have a BA in psychology and a BA in criminology and deviance. And we had 3 kids, and my plan was to always go back for my master's in psychology, because you can't do much with just a BA in psychology. And so actually right about the time where I was deciding whether I was going to go back to school is when this all happened to us. And so everything just kind of shifted, and I still feel like I'm very much fulfilling that piece of me that's trying to help people. So just in a very, very different way, but I will be doing this for life. I don't see myself doing anything else.
That's perfect. Yeah. So I wanted to ask, to further your original story, was you had signed up for Palm, and then you said like within the week something had happened to your husband again. Was that correct?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, my kids are out there banging on the door like I said they would
It's
be.
all right.
Yeah, actually it was within a month. So when we first discovered this company, my husband and I thought, this is too good to be true. How can they be asking so little in premium and giving so much? But we thought, okay,
And
the
how
premiums
much
are
were you
cheap.
paying at the very beginning?
At the very beginning, for the biggest accident plan that they had at the time was $56, and it starts at 14. Like, it's crazy. And for families, it starts at 34. So yeah, thank you for that. It just gives people an idea that it's super, super affordable.
Yeah, so
yeah,
you were
we were
at
paying,
$56 a month when you first started?
yeah, yeah. We just thought we'll just get a policy for Danny, and then we'll see how it goes. And then within a month, he broke his finger. He was holding down a metal table, and his pinky finger got stuck in the fold of the table. So it just crushed the top of his finger. Anyways, he came into the house, and I kind of said, oh, geez, I'm so sorry you're hurt, but yes, we can make a claim and see if this company is going to do this. Like, it's just minor. It was fine. And so off he went. He got his x-ray showing that, the finger was broken, and we made a claim. And within, I think that first time it was about 6 days, we had a check in the mail for $4,200, which was just ridiculously astounding to us. So 2 weeks after that, he was playing around with the table saw in our garage, and compound fractured his finger on his, he probably shouldn't have been doing anything with the broken finger, but took the top of his finger off on the table saw. Again, he came in and he said, oh my gosh, I've hurt myself. I have to go to the hospital, but we're not making a claim. This company is going to, kick us out, or the premiums are going to increase or whatever, which neither of those things happen. And so made a claim again, $4,200. And then, and I'm not joking you, 3 weeks to the day after that happened, he actually, he was in the shop, and he fell back into like sheets of laminate that were being stored in the shop. And it severed the 2 arteries in his head. He just opened up his head, and off he went. So third time around, he really was very firm on, we're not making a claim. We can't make a claim. Honestly, this company is going to kick us out. But that's why we had the policy, right? Was for those reasons. So I said, of course we're making a claim. Once again, just the money in the mail. And I thought, this is incredible. This is something really different. And that's when I said, okay, I got to do this. I got to just show this to people. What do I do? Train me. So now I'm licensed in Alberta, BC, and Newfoundland. And with this whole COVID thing, the company quickly leveled up and gave us a completely virtual platform to work from and to issue policies. So, based on people's level of comfort now, we can meet face to face, but now I can issue policies all the way from Newfoundland without having to be there, or anywhere in BC and Alberta. So it's awesome. It just keeps growing, and it just keeps amazing me.
So just to confirm, like I always tell the story to whenever I recommend you. So you had paid in about 3 months, what, about $160, and you had received over $10,000 in claims.
Yeah, it was about,
is that correct?
It was 13,000 or something. Yeah.
So what blew my mind, so 13,000, and what blew my mind, like, these numbers are fantastic and they sound like just absolutely whimsical, right? But what blew my mind was when I signed up, Ginny actually showed me a clause that they can't raise your premiums strictly based on your claims. Like, they have proper process and all these things to make sure that you're making legitimate claims, of course, but they will not raise your claims based on your circumstance. If there's a raise there's a raise in your rate, it's going to be a global raise in the rate. But this is a very, very serious organization about people that need to work, that do have real obligations. So the way I explain it to a lot of my friends and family, and people that I just see that are injured, is It's funny because I saw my neighbor, and he was walking around with his arm in a splint and stuff. I was like, "Yo, what happened to you?" And he's like, "Oh, you know, like I got like I can't remember what he said, but he had injured it at work. It was sprained, and he couldn't go back to work." And he was like, "Yeah, so like I'm just like this." I'm like, "How long you got off work for?" He's like, "I don't know, 2, 3 weeks." I'm like, "Are you getting $2,000 for it?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Let me tell you." So I share the story that I just coaxed out of Ginny because that's her story. And after that, I'm like, listen, farmers don't joke around. Like, this was started for farmers, and farmers, if they break their arm, that's their entire harvest gone unless they can find someone to replace themselves, or, you know, they have somebody else operating the equipment, or, you know, those sorts of things. Like, this is no joke. And farmers work darn hard, you know. And you know, if you have a company that jerks them around, you're not going to have a company for very long, because they will talk and you will never get another customer again. And so yeah, it's oftentimes I'm sharing this specific story, how Ginny has made, this is how Ginny found this, had found this organization to begin with. And then the claim stories that, you know, got her on this track. And then on top of that, like my personal experience with Palm Protects and combined insurance. And Ginny has been instrumental in helping my family make sure that we feel covered. What I personally struggled with a lot as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, and just working for myself, was Blue Cross was way too expensive. Like, I look at Blue Cross, I'm like, oh, look, it starts at like $150 a month, and it covers almost nothing, and stuff doesn't kick in for like 3 to 6 months, depending on what you're asking for. Also, when we talk about pre-existing conditions, that stuff is not covered by Blue Cross at all, ever. Whereas Palm Protects, after how many months is it before they start covering your medication if you have pre-existing conditions?
Yeah, so it's not for, it would be more for if somebody was sick or sick. So the pre-existing condition clause is if you once you sign your policy, you have 24 months in order to, when they'll start to, sorry, now I have a naked child coming in the background. Sorry about that. This is just life. This is work, a working mom. Sorry.
COVID, let's go.
Tim, go outside, please. There's one out there. Sorry. Oh my goodness. 24 months. So for example, if somebody is is epileptic and they're struggling with seizures or something like that, traditional insurance either won't cover you, or they'll say, sure, we'll cover you for everything else, but let's say being epileptic. So our company says, once your policy's been enforced for 24 months, we now will cover you for anything pre-existing related. And it's just a time rider. So there's no, sometimes people think that they can't have any incidences in that time, and that's not the case. It's just if, it's just once 24 months has elapsed. So it's very, very meaningful for people to find out that, you know, instead of always being told, no, you can't have this policy, you can't have this. With us, it's, you can, you know, so it just really makes me feel good. And it makes these people feel good that they actually can be covered.
So there was also some examples that you showed me, like if someone has like life-threatening diseases, like say if they have AIDS, or if they have I don't know, like Parkinson's or whatever. There are different diseases that prohibit you from actually getting any insurance at all. Whereas Palm Protects actually, and combined insurance actually will separate that and give you specific coverage. Even if they can't cover you for one thing, it doesn't completely blanket you out from having coverage as a whole. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, and you have such a good memory of these products. My goodness, you're like my best salesperson, my best referral partner ever. Honestly, it's amazing. I love it. Yeah, so there's a couple of things. So the only health questions that we ask people when they're getting a sickness policy is if in the past 5 years somebody has been diagnosed with, like you said, cancer, heart attack, stroke, AIDS, diabetes, and Parkinson's and major diseases like that. That's it. There's no blood exam, urine, anything like that. So if somebody's, let's say, has been in remission from one of those things, the ones that you can be in remission for, we now can just sign them a policy. That's it, just plain and simple, which is amazing because if people typically have a history of that, they won't be able to get a policy. The other thing that we do that's really cool is that we have sickness policies and we have accident policies, and they're always separated from each other. Because if somebody were to say to me, yes, Ginny, I am HIV positive, you know, and it's obviously they're embarrassed to say it, and they also don't even want to say it because they don't want to hear the no and have that awful rejection that people feel. But for me, I love it because obviously I say, okay, you know, don't despair. What's really cool about this is that we may not be able to give you a sickness plan, but we can give you all of the accident plans that we have. And these people are elated. Like, I've had people sitting in front of me crying before saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like, I understand why we can't be covered for sickness, but to be covered for accident, these people, they will probably live their full lives with HIV, for example, but they're just as likely as getting into, you know, an accident as anybody else. So this is it's just incredible. So that's how we can then say, okay, sorry, we can't cover you for this, but we can cover you for accident all day long. Pick your plans, pick your premium that you feel comfortable with, and off we go, and we're covered. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's been, the reason that I'm so excited to talk about it is that as you were sharing with me, I was actually getting excited. I was like what company acts the way that I expect it to act, right? Like they have integrity in the way that you expect them to have integrity, especially when it comes to insurance or coverage. Because we're so used to these heavily marketed companies that people don't know what other options there are. And like you had mentioned, combined insurance doesn't actually do a lot of, doesn't do any commercial advertising at all. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. It's the gentleman that started this company in 1922. He had said, I do not and will not do any advertisements. I would much rather make sure that that money is going into the pockets of the clients. When legitimate claims are coming in, that money is going to the clients. I mean, the best form of advertisement that you can have, and I'm sure you can attest to this, is clients that are happy, clients that are talking about their amazing experience with a company. And so to this day, we still don't advertise. The company, you know, some people say, holy smokes, if you're only paying a $56 premium and you're receiving $4,200 over and over and over again, how does this company stay afloat? And one of the main reasons is because we don't spend the money on advertising. So we actually have in our reserve fund, it's called Reserve for Policyholder Benefits, we have $2.9 billion sitting there in reserves to pay claims. So that's why sometimes people say, well, you know, I'm with X, Y, and Z traditional company, and I went to make a claim and they dodged me around, and they, you know, for us, it's, and sorry, let me go back. And the primary reason for that is that they don't have enough money to actually pay for all these claims that do come in. So they're trying to do whatever they can to see how many people they can just fall off fighting for, taking the time to try to get their money. And it's because they don't have that reserves for policyholder benefits. And so we do. And so a claim comes in, and my job is to help all of my clients. All of my clients have my cell phone number. I get phone calls saying, Ginny, we're on our way to the hospital, or this is what happened to us. How do we make a claim? And my job is to see them through the claims process. So I'm kind of the liaison between the company and the client to make it easy. You know, if somebody's struggling with an injury or an illness, or a family member is, the last thing they need to worry about is how they're going to make this claim. And oh my gosh, you know, time's running out. If I don't make it in 14 days, you know, we've got 90 days. So there's time to go through it all. So that's just my job, is to make it easy for people and to make sure that they're getting the money that I told them that they would get if X, Y, and Z happened. So yeah.
Yeah, it's been an absolutely, I'm so glad I finally have coverage that I can depend on. I'm so glad that today that if anything does happen, my wife is covered, I'm covered. I think we're looking at getting stuff covered. And yeah, we're excited that if anything goes wrong, I can just call Ginny to get that sorted out. Yeah, it's really a breath of fresh air for me, especially since as an entrepreneur for the last 15 years, really, I've really struggled with finding coverage, you know, like just even qualifying. So yeah, it's nice to feel that I have that security blanket today. Ginny, I know we're running low on time here. I want to ask you before we go, what is the best way for our viewers to get in contact with you?
A couple things. My either email or even phone number. I am just text message is easiest. Well, it's quickest for me. Also, I have a website. Do you want me to just say it out what it is now, or will you post
Sure,
that?
yeah, I'll still plug it in the description, but yeah, it'd be nice to just get it on camera.
Yeah, for sure. So my email is Ginny, and it's GINNY at palmprotectsyou.com. And then my phone number is 403-669-1180. And I'm happy to chat with anybody. Honestly, it's just about giving people information, and then it's up to them to decide whether they see the value in it or whether they, want to know more. So super no pressure situation, because I know that's another reason why insurance gets a bad rap. For me, it's just, here's the information, and then I know I've done my job. I've just put it out there. That's all I've wanted to do, is just put it out there.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Ginny, for coming onto the show. I'm so happy. I'm so glad that we could finally do this. We've been meaning to do this for a couple of months, but COVID has had us occupied. But yeah, I'm so glad to have you here. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you so much, Cyril. I always love chatting with you, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Great. So yes, so that's our show. Thank you for joining us. I hope this was informative and helpful. Until next time, I'm Cyril Wong with Butlers Incorporated.